Welcome back. You are on with me, myself, and Verns. Unfortunately, we do not have Joshy here tonight, which is a little bit shattering. He's a little bit sick. Personally, I think he's a little bit crushed that Langford missed an absolute sitter and the Bombers just couldn't get it done on Anzac Day. But I do have the main man here. Verns, how are you tonight? Yeah, great start, mate. Great start. What the fuck's wrong with your audio? Sort it out. Fantastic. Verns' internet has completely shit itself.
It's so delayed.
Oh, he's back. He's back. How are you, mate? Yep, no, that's terrible. He's going to sort that out whilst we continue on. Let's see if we can get him back in shortly. My round was disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. I scored just under 2,200. It was 2,194, and I slipped back to 3K rank. It was shocking. Verns, can we hear you right now?
I'm hoping we can. Is it all right?
Yes, perfect. How did you go this week, mate?
Okay, I did score 2,077, so awful week once again. I dropped 10,000 ranks again, so just inside 60k. Yeah, I mean Marshall just really hurt the last few weeks. I mean Liver missing another game sucked. I did trade in Dacos from Stewart, which was better. And I got Dawson in too, who went pretty well. So at least the trades went well this week, but yeah, not the team.
Yeah, no, well, there was some rumours going around about Libba. Some very interesting ones, some a little bit far-fetched, but a little bit annoying that he didn't play for you, mate. But Dawson looked very good. I'm sure you would have been happy with that trade in, surely.
Yeah, definitely. He was actually in my VC considerations. But then when I heard Solo was out, I was like, well, Marshall has to be the VC, right? And unfortunately, ended up captaining Bont, and yeah, it didn't quite work out in the captain loophole either. But yeah, I was pretty hot on Dawson, so glad that went well.
Yeah, and your sideways Stewart, mate. Talk me through the decision making in that.
Honestly, I have a dead bench in defense. So unfortunately, with Stewart out, it just means I was fielding a donut. So I either had the sidewards a dead rookie or sidewards Stewart. Stewart's also been underperforming a bit, where I don't know if he's going to be quite that top end premium. And Dacos coming into Essendon, a good break even as well. I was like, I do need to get on him. And if there's a chance Stewart loses 40K in the next few weeks and then ends up being a must have, I can get him back pretty easily.
Yeah, interesting on that. I know Joshy and I have had a fair few discussions regarding how Martin is a much better Supercoach asset and probably a top 6 defender over Tommy Stewart. But I'm sure we can leave that for another discussion because it's not fair to take pot shots at him when he can't respond to it. But considering Joshy isn't here and we wish him the best, hopefully he gets a little bit better. If we can all donate a little bit of cement, maybe put it in a cup, he can have a drink of that and harden the fuck up. But we're going to move on because, Verns, you're taking over his segment, mate, the market summary. Go for it, my friend.
Look, we're going to be jumping into the top 10%, so this isn't including any crazy trades I'm doing, guys, so don't worry about that.
Yes, the numbers aren't skewed by you, mate.
So we're going to start off with the most traded in, and we got the top 5. Number 5 in the top 10% is Jordan Dawson, traded in by 11.7% of the top 10%. Look, pretty understandable. He's been good now for 2 weeks in a row, so that's really, I guess, solid for a lot of people. As I got him last week because I was sold off honestly one game. But yeah, completely understandable to get him in with such a low break even. I think 27 or something along those lines.
Yeah, it's ridiculously low for, I guess, someone like Dawson. He was actually in my trade plans if Rosie didn't get up, but apparently his hamstring's fine. He's been cleared to play, which I think is very, very dodgy. I'm not too sure what's happening there. And if you do own Rosie, like myself, you do not want to miss the start of that game because chances are he's going to be laid out.
Yeah, definitely agree there. Pig actually put up a really funny meme on Twitter For anyone that follows Dr. Supercoach Pig Mentality, where he also has Rosie, and he had put up a little meme, I guess, about sidewaysing to Sarong, and then obviously not being able to do that because Rosie's named back in.
Yes. Yes. Oh, goodness. Who do we have next, mate?
Yeah. So next, I think there's no surprise in this sort of top traded in players. There's 3 pretty big rookies this week that everyone's hopped on. Number 4 comes into one of them as Riley Garcia. 12.7% of the top 10% have traded him in. And look, was pretty good from the Dogs, a minus 74 break even. The only thing that's a bit speculative there is he was meant to be the sub if Libba actually played. So it puts a little bit of worry in people's hearts, but obviously there was a few injuries, so I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I'm not too sure either. Interesting in the presser, as you just said, mate, that Bevo basically told everyone he was going to be the sub if Libba got up, which clearly he didn't. And West has been suspended. They've accepted that. And also Waitman's out for 6 weeks because of an injury. So you would think that Garcia is going to get an extended run. Maybe not through the midfield once Libba's back, maybe high half forward, but I can understand the merit in trading him in.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the only other thing there is if he's not getting that CBA, he's not as wanted as if he was obviously getting some CBA rotations. But we'll jump on to number 3. And number 3 is actually one I've been eyeing off, tossing up this guy and Sarong, but it is Tom Green. So for all those non-Tom Green owners, he's got a crazy, not crazy low, but a 91 break even is quite low for someone of his caliber. He's less than 580K, 13.2% of the top 10% have traded them in, and it's a perfect time to jump on him.
I could not have said that any better, mate. His last 3 averages 136 against the Swans. Thank you, Joshy, for that little bit of inside information, mate. Very good with your numbers. He is the premium that I'm bringing in this week. I do not want to watch another Giants game without Tom Green. So I have nothing more to say on that, mate. He's coming into my team this week.
Yeah, me too. So the next one, moving on, we wrap up with, I guess, the 2 most desired rookies to finish off. And at 22.1% of the top 10% trading in is Jake Rogers. So obviously, first game for Gold Coast. I don't know if he was a sub in that first game, but he obviously didn't put out good Supercoach numbers.
No, he put out a 28, which is absolutely disgusting.
Definitely is, but then obviously bounces back this week with a massive 98, and that's the more important week to do it on because it's going to count for more price rises. So definitely can see why people are excited for that. And honestly, he was very good when I saw him. Very nice with the ball, a lot of goal assists, very exciting. So I can see why so many people have traded him in. Is he in your trade plans?
No, he's not. I'm happy to miss him. Elevated price. We've already seen that he can put out stinkers. Don't get me wrong, that 98 was fantastic, but all the Gold Coast boys played well. They just shared the points around. So I don't think he's a must-have. If he puts out another decent score, then you're definitely picking him up for under 200K next week, mate.
Yeah, definitely. And as we sort of mentioned with Garcia, that forward role, it's not ideal. And we've seen it previously, even with Rochelle when he was a really good rookie when he came in. He has these yo-yo scores where sometimes the ball lives down your ends and you run over opponents and you get a good score out of it. And other times you just can't get involved in the game and you pop out of 28 like you did in round 1. So, sorry, like you did in his first game.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think we both know who the next player is going to be.
Yeah, if you don't, then you have not been paying attention this week, but it is Jordan Sweet. 50.4% of the top 10% have traded him in, minus 113 break even, dropped to 136 on my boy Marshall. But look, I mean, the only thing I was actually a bit surprised here was he did let Marshall have a lot of hitouts. I mean, Marshall obviously got injured in the first quarter and wasn't very good. But his strength usually isn't his hit-out game. But he did let Marshall have 36, which is significantly higher than the 15 or so he normally gets. So I do think this 136 is definitely significantly elevated because he played against a ruckman that couldn't get around the ground. But he has it in his cycle. He's going to earn a lot of money because of it. So why not get on it?
I do not have anything more to add. I think there's merit in just trading out a forward and bringing Sweet in via Livingston, or you can literally just put the E on Sweet and see how he goes. And then you could even trade out Grundy if he absolutely pops, and that works for your trade plans. Like, it's either way, I think you have to have Sweet this week.
Yeah, that's actually my idea right now. I'm going to be having Sweet as the emergency. And look, Marshall's got such a terrible break even that if Sweet pops off, I might side with Marshall the Flanders and then see what I can do running Sweet at R2 for a bit. But I wouldn't be surprised if he comes out with like a 80 and he just ends up sitting at my R3.
Perfect, mate. Well, they're the top trade-ins. Who are the shit kickers getting kicked out of the teams, mate? Who's the top 5 for that?
So top 5 traded out. Actually a bit surprising by some of these. Wow. Sorry, first time I've actually looked at them myself, but look, number 5 getting traded out from the top 10%. 11.1% have traded out Oliver Dempsey. That one I don't think is too surprising. He's definitely maxed out on cash. His break even's up at 69 now. Like, it's a perfect time for him to go. If he didn't go last week, definitely going this week. So very understandable.
Yeah, you summarise that perfectly, mate. I mean, if you have other fires to put out, then absolutely go for it. But there's nothing wrong with trading out Dempsey at all, mate.
Yeah, and 300k, it's very easy to make an upgrade from that.
He's
much better.
Been one of the best rookies. And I think if you started him or managed to get him in before a price rise, you've done very well, and your team's probably set up pretty well going forward.
Yeah, definitely. Now, next at the 4th most traded out, which this one did actually catch me off guard, but I guess someone's got to make room for Sweet, and it is Brodie Grundy. So 12.8% of the top 10% have traded them out. So still owned by 44.9% of that top 10%. But yeah, I guess someone's got to make room for Sweet. And I guess if you want maybe a bit of a cash grab to get towards English in a few weeks, or Gorn if you don't have him like some people.
Yeah, some people that clearly don't listen to the podcast, clearly.
But yeah, definitely understandable them moving him on. But yeah, definitely higher than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I mean, like, I can understand the merit in going Grundy up. I don't know if I would want to be going Grundy all the way down to Sweet and not getting another primo in. I think if Sweet pops and you trade Grundy out, that has to be bringing in another premium. I would not feel comfortable just sitting on the cash for a week.
Oh, definitely. And I think, as you said as well, just Sweet R3 emergency on him and just wait for game 1.
Just wait.
Yeah,
just be patient. Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
Awesome. Because you're going to feel real silly if he pops out a 60 and he's sitting at your R2. Like,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you'd feel like you have Rowan Marshall on field, wouldn't you?
A little bit better than Rowan Marshall.
Low. Yeah.
But number 3, most traded out in the top 10%, 13.1% have traded out Aaron Cadman. Very understandable here. Break even 52. Same boat as Ollie Dempsey. He's just sort of made the cash. His break even is stabilized. Sydney, I don't think there's a good chance he goes less than that break even this week. It's not quite the flat track they've had so far. So yeah, completely reasonable to get him on out.
Oh, absolutely. Like, Cadman's time is done. Same situation with Dempsey. I mean, if you've got other fires to put out, then by all means do that. But yeah, I'd be looking to move Cadman on fairly quickly.
Yeah, look, I'll just throw a bit of a question at you. So if you had to move one of Cadman or Dempsey, which one would you prefer to move?
It's Cadman for me, just purely because of the DPP and the flexibility that Dempsey gives your team. That's it. I wouldn't be paying, for instance, if there's 2 rookies with DPP and one doesn't have DPP, but the DPP player is more expensive, then I wouldn't be paying overs for that purely for the flexibility. But in this situation, when you're trading them out, DPP takes priority in my eyes.
Yeah, no, definitely agree. And I guess Dempsey, I'd feel a lot more comfortable if he was on my field. So
yeah,
that's also taken into account. Great. So moving on to the next one, 19.1% of the top 10% have traded out Jeremy Sharp. Once again, same boat. He's done what he needed to do. He honestly should have gone last week, but if he didn't, you need to move him on now.
Yeah, well, I traded him out last week, and I mean, Bulldogs have given up fairly decent scores to wingers, but he just didn't get near it. So I mean, he didn't drop that much cash. I mean, he dropped a bit, but he didn't hemorrhage it. So I think if you've still got him, you know the plans. Like surely he's in your trade plans to get another premium in going into this week. Surely.
Yeah, definitely. Now the most traded out player in the top 10%.
Here we go.
Yeah, 25.7% of players have traded out Tom Powell. And I think I understand that. I mean, 14% CBAs this week. He just doesn't look like. I know it's just 1 week of data, but I think we could take a lot from that they've lost trust on him in the midfield. They were trying to get Simkin more rotations. They're trying to get Sheasel more rotations. They're trying to change it up. And unfortunately, he's the guy that's taking the blunt of that.
Yeah, see, I'm a little bit torn on this. Like, there's so many ways you can look at it. I mean, Curtis was getting CBAs. Will Phillips was brought into the team to play as a CBA midfielder, and he had 5 touches and then got subbed out. And as soon as he was gone, Power went straight back in. Like, I can understand, and you don't want to, kick a team when they're down, so to speak. But like, what on earth is Clarko doing? I know he's got to try things, fair enough, but don't just go completely abstract. I mean, Curtis isn't a CBA midfielder. And poor Will Phillips is going to have this lingering thing where North could have picked Logan McDonald over him for his entire career, and they didn't. Like, it's shocking. His output was disgusting. Like, I would be absolutely shocked if Phillips is in that team. I think Clarko he's given him one more chance. Phillips has let it slip between his fingers because he was absolutely shithouse. He was disgusting. And it just seemed to me, I watched that game very closely, and it just seemed like there was opportunities when obviously there was a goal scored, it's a CBA, and Powell is telling blokes to come in there whilst he moves to the forward line. It's looked like he was just purely instructed that it wasn't his turn this week. Now, you can read into that how you want. Like, does that mean that they're going to continue it because what they've been doing hasn't been working? I mean, they're shocking. That's a fair statement, but it just makes me think, is Clarko just going to flip the magnets all around in search of this formula that gives them their first win? Or is he going to send Power back in there? And I mean, at 400K, you do one downgrade and then drop 150K on Power, that gets you a Dawson. So there's a lot of things you need to weigh up there. So I reckon it's hugely team dependent. I reckon the forward line's absolutely disgusting. So you can push him out and potentially strengthen up your midfield so that you can wait and allow time and then have more data to decide. For instance, so there was a question about ranking in the chat before, which is fantastic. You might get more data on someone that you're not too sure on and then be able to make a definitive decision, and that said player you're bringing in is going to be top 6. And you don't have to worry about a spud like Will Phillips coming in and affecting your premium forward. So either way, team dependent, mate. What's your thoughts on it?
Oh, look, he's made us 100K. I kind of feel like this is like the worst case scenario that we always thought that, hey, if he's a keeper, great, we'll keep him all season. If not, we're making 100K. If we don't trade him this week, he's going to lose money. And every week you wait, it feels like, as you sort of mentioned, if he doesn't turn it around in this coming week, it's going to start losing money. You're going to start losing, I guess, the win that we had. We can trade him and just bank in a net win of 100K, or you can hold him and risk losing that for the chance that he comes back. But even when he was in that midfield, he was cusp top 6 forward, if top 10 forward. He had those few big games to open up, but then after that, he's had some pretty average games. And honestly, I've been sitting here for a while thinking he's not going to be in my forward line at the end of this season. So I think I'm a lot more comfortable to move him out because of that.
I think if you can, and as I said, it's team dependent and structure dependent, but if you can get Harley Reid to F5 and loop rookies at F6 without a Tom Powell, then I would 100% do it. Let's be honest. If you're working a 5-day week and then on the weekend you want to sit down and watch North Melbourne play football just to see if Tom Powell's getting CBAs, you're either insane or you take your super coach, fantasy football, real dream team, whatever it is, way too seriously, because you can spend your time doing a million other things so much more productively. And I know I'm shitting on North a lot, but yeah, I'm just at a loss with what to do there. So yeah, I'm not too sure. Team dependent. I know that's a cop-out answer, but some people will be happy to hold him. And literally others, like some that I've spoken to, as soon as lockout lifted, Tom Powell was gone. Absolutely gone.
Well, I think as you also mentioned there, it's so easy to upgrade him to one of these premium midfielders as well, being that 400k. Like my
Yep.
team looks a lot better with Tom Green in the team rather than Tom Powell.
Oh, absolutely. You change that Powell to a Green and it's looking fantastic. But then again, if you've banked cash and you went into this week with a large kitty and you can just go Powell straight up, you're laughing, absolutely laughing. But for those that may need to boost or they're thinking of trading out Grundy as well, like the worst situation you want to be in is if, excuse me, if for instance, Sweet pops, you trade out Grundy, you're trying to trade out Powell as well, and then another rookie. The only way I try and do that is if you can get two genuine premiums in. You don't want a premium and then I guess a fake premium, so to speak, and another rookie. Like it just that doesn't sound ideal to me. It almost sounds like a waste of a trade, and you just wait for more data, keep Powell, hope to God that he does get back in those CBAs. But it's an interesting discussion, mate. Gun to your head, hold or trade Powell?
Trade.
Trade. Yep. I think that would be my first instinct, but that's team dependent. Absolutely team dependent.
Yeah. Look, I know we're going to jump to some questions very soon, but I thought I'll just bring it up while we're on North. We saw McKercher absolutely pop off this week. He's coming into St Kilda. He took 12 kick-ins. I mean, that fact alone is insane. Do you think it's worth getting McKercher back in for 250k?
Absolutely not. No.
Okay. No, I've definitely seen it discussed. Just thought I'd run it past you.
No. I can understand the merit in it, but and if anyone follows me on Twitter, they know that I'm hugely into the numbers and what the numbers say. Like if a player averages X over a certain amount of weeks, what will they make? What will they drop? But it just makes me think if McKercher's at 250, if you're trading him in at 250, why not just take a gamble on a Rogers, bank the 100k, and then expect a little less score and make the same, if not more, and putting that 100k to better use? That's just like, unless you think that McKercher is genuinely going to get to 450k and average, 105 over the next 10 weeks, go for it. But just be prepared that, I mean, we saw a role change for Tom Powell. He had the highest CBAs going into last week, and then it was completely shot. So I think Clarko is definitely willing to try things, and a first-year player is probably one of the first ones to get thrown around.
Yeah, look, I think probably more a discussion point, as we mentioned, if Rogers doesn't pop this week, Sweet doesn't pop because, Sola doesn't get injured, and we only really have like Riley Garcia as an upgrade, then maybe it's a bit more of a discussion point. But yeah, we've got 3 viable options there. So I do agree. We can probably just overlook them at this point.
Yep, perfect, mate. Perfect. And you had a nice segue into some questions. So we're going to go firstly with Supercoach Pro. Thanks for being here, mate. If Marshall and Steele are out, would you sideways or upgrade around if you have cover? I can't decide right now. Very team dependent. I know that's a cop out of an answer, but if it's Marshall that's out, I'd be looking to ditch. I'd even go Marshall down to Sweet and upgrade somewhere else. If it's Steele, I'd probably keep because of what he's shown so far. But generally, we will get a good indication on how long they'd be out for, and then you just upgrade around them. I mean, I think that's the best way to progress your team going forward. What about yourself, mate? I know you like a sideways trade, so what's your thoughts on this one?
Oh, God, I really don't want to be sidewaysing any more players because I've already sideways so many and they've all gone really bad. I guess except for Stuart the Dacos, that was fine. I really don't want to do any more. If I had to choose one, I do agree Marshall's probably the more obvious one, just because we have Sweet right there. Look, I'd probably probably hold for a week, but if it's anything more than a week, obviously they just would have to go. But hopefully they're playing.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know Marshall, so I hope he sits out and has a week off, or he can have fucking 10 weeks off. I couldn't give a shit, but still, surely this man can hit a target. Surely he hasn't been, but surely he can soon. Joshy, good to see that you've made it awake and you're doing well. You're not dying too much. Thoughts on the new Supercoach look? Cook's Dark Mode Chrome extension. Yeah, the Chrome extension has just completely gone to garbage with the new Supercoach look, but I reckon it looks sleek, looks clean. That's my opinion. What's yours, Verns?
No, I definitely like it too. I'll be honest, this is the first time I've opened it since it's updated, and I was a little bit lost when I was trying to find the players' trade out percentage before, but we got it all, and no, I agree, very clean.
Yep, absolutely. We have Supercoach Pro again. Good to see you, mate. Rogers way better than Garcia. I reckon Garcia surely sub next game, regardless of Waitman injury. And yes, we did see that autocorrect. But yeah, that's true. I mean, you're not getting a good read of it because it's so difficult. Like again, Libba was out on the weekend. Waitman went down injured early, and now Waitman's going to be out for I think it was 6 weeks. I read, and West is suspended, so you're not getting a definitive read on it. Yeah, I know, and he's got that dickhead coach factor as well. So it's not as simple as this bloke scored X is 125k, bring him in for a downgrade option. I don't think it's that simple. Ferns, your thoughts?
Yeah, and I definitely agree with this. And I think the numbers showed it before with them being traded in. Rogers was more traded in. And I think, oh my gosh, I just blanked on his name. But Gold Coast coach, how did I blank on his name? My goodness.
Dimmer,
there we go. He has definitely shown that he's willing to play the kids. We've seen it with Graham, we've seen it with Closely. Like, he's willing to play these kids, and if they show something, they're definitely going to stick around in this team. And I really think he had a great game. I was really happy with what I saw from him, and I think as a coach you would have been really happy with what you saw from him. So I think he's cemented his spot purely off how well he's played for a little while, at least, where Garcia sort of had to rely on other people getting moved out of the team or not, injuries to sort of stay in the best 22. So definitely feel more confident with Rogers in my team if I was taking one of the two.
Does it come into your calculations when Rogers is, I think it's like 23k more?
Oh man, look, if 23k was the difference between me getting the primo I wanted, I would probably just go down the Garcia. Look, as much as I like Rogers more, if I had to go down, I'm not in love with the pick that I can't give up on it. It's like if that 23k does something good for me, I'd probably take the 23k.
Understandable. Joshy, another one. Can Rankin be a top 6 forward? 93 average. Last 3 games, he's averaged 106 Supercoach and 54% CBAs. 493k looks nice. I think he can. Absolutely. The only thing that I was a little bit worried with is as soon as Matty Crouch came back in, the last 2 games prior to that, the last game that he played with Crouch had 55% CBAs and Rankin had 61%. So it's not much of a difference. But then obviously Crouch was suspended. Then we had Rankin have 76 CBAs. And then obviously they played North and Crouch had 71% and Rankin had 26. So look into that however you will. But at 493k, you're not getting him for absolutely nothing. Again, like I'd rather be patient, and if he's definitively top 6 and he's at 530k, then I'll just pay the extra 40k. Like I'm happy to wait on that. I don't want to try and be in hero and pick Rankin, and then he just goes back to playing forward, and that's it. And then I guess out of their midfield dynamic, I know Joshy traded this man out before his big 140. Roy Laird just turns from 57% CBAs back up to say that 70%, that 80%. So happy to be hesitant and wait. Verns, what's your thoughts on Rankin, mate?
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. At the end of the day, the forward line's so speculative. It's probably going to be our last upgrades are going to the forward line to make sure we're actually getting picks that we're happy with. I definitely think he could be. And if you picked him up, I wouldn't be against it. As you said, 3 rounds that he's been really good in. Saying that, as you mentioned, the North game is a game he was parked forward, but they ran over them. So the ball lived there anyway, which doesn't fill me with much confidence. I would definitely rather be patient and worry about this later in the season. Saying that, later in the season, you can always get a bit more spicy with the key forwards at that stage.
Yes, you can. Corey, great to see you, mate. Thank you so much. Who is the best premium under Dawson price this week? Was looking at Cadman to Dale and Marshall to a Dawson. Was 2K short. Wow, that's a very good question. Let's have a look. Under Jordan Dawson's. If you're 2K, I really don't mind Nick Blakey, but that's not 2K. If you can work some DPP out, Lockie Whitfield is a great shout. I really, really like him. I mean, you could even go Hayden Young. I'm not sold on Sinclair. Matt Crouch is a no for me. LDU did look fairly good, but again, like he's just been absolutely dog past this year. See, this... I'm actually glad you brought this up, mate, because this is what I spoke about before when we're looking at those almost half a premium. Out of that, I'd probably look to bring in 2 defenders and just get Whitfield and Dale. I'm not sold on the Dale pick, but I can understand it. But like that, if you're looking at midfielders, that 555k down is just, it's a graveyard. Like, you're not confident in any of them. And I'm fairly certain literally none of them are going to be top 8. I'm safe to say none are even going to be top 12. So if you're looking at that, like Lockie Whitfield, go Whitfield instead of Dawson and move some DPP if you can. Ferns, what's your thoughts, mate? Because you are always coming up with out there interesting selections.
Yeah. Look, just a random interesting selection. I did mention Stephen May to bring in this week, like 2 weeks ago on the podcast, and he came out with a 115 this week. So, I mean, look, at that point, I stopped endorsing it because Dale was just a better pick at the price. But I know Corey actually has Whitfield, so it actually crosses that off his list of players.
That's redundant, isn't it?
But I do agree. Like, at the end of the day, these midfielders, if they're not 600k plus, they're almost not worth talking about. And if they've dropped below 600k in the case of a Green or a Sarong because they've had a bit of a slump, it's not far enough to be less than 560k. We'd be absolutely blessed in that case. A midfielder that I probably wouldn't be confident bringing in, but someone that showed a little form this week was Darcy Parish. So if you wanted to take an absolute long shot on that one, I personally wouldn't, but he did show form this week and he is a steal of a price. I can't even find him. He's played that bad. Come on, mate. Where are you? He's less than 500, 493.
He's not going to play Collingwood every single week, and he always pops on Anzac Day.
No, I definitely agree. Like, as I said, it's also something I would do, but I'm just trying to throw something out there for you. I think, as you said, jump to the defense line. I mean, Jordan Clark had been pretty good this far in the season. Nas has actually been a bit down at the moment. His 3-round average is 95.
Wouldn't touch him. No.
Yeah, honestly, once you're below that price, it's not good. I mean, I would almost prefer just skipping on Dale and paying up for a big dog midfielder. That's how I'd feel.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
We actually haven't really talked about Dale. What are your thoughts on Dale?
I just there's too many variables there to say like a definitive answer. It's just dickhead coach factor. You've got Libba that's going to come back in. You would think that Ed Richards pushes back again. So there's another halfback flanker that is just prolific in getting the ball. Does Bailey Dale continue this? Like, he kicked 2 sausages on the weekend. When is he going to continue doing that? Don't get me wrong. If you jumped on 2 weeks ago, you are laughing because you can just ride that price rise. But realistically, right now, again, same situation as what we said before with Rankin. I'm more than happy to wait. Like, more than happy. I mean, it's just, there is a big difference. And I think you've got to be completely content with your decision? Like, do you go another week and potentially downgrade again and build a bank for, say, a Luke Ryan, who seems to just get absolutely sucked off by champion data every moment he's on the footy field? Or do you run the risk of going a Bailey Dale who at any moment could find himself literally running drinks, flipping burgers? Who knows what Bevo's going to have him do next week? Like, it's just no one knows. It's that unpredictability, and that just scares me. Like, your risk profile has got to be pretty extensive if you want to be bringing in Bailey Dale right now. I know the numbers look good, but more than happy to wait. More than happy to wait. It's, yeah.
I do like
absolutely.
the Ed Richards comment as well. He did play 92% CBAs again this week, meaning that Dale had the back line to himself. Once Ed Richards is back there, it's definitely going to eat into his scoring. I think best case scenario, maybe looking at a 95 to 100 from Bailey Dale. And honestly, the defenders this year, they're much better quality than last year. Like, if they're not at least 105 minimum, are they even worth considering? The other thing to take into effect is what kind of D7s do you already have? Because I'm sure many people are probably planning for these D7 players towards the end of the year. But if you've already got a Wangari Miller, you got a Clark, you have players that are already sort of in that slot of they're a D7 later on. You don't want to be filling the team full of players like that. You don't want to add a Bailey Dale on top of that. I know for myself, I've got Max Holmes that I'm going to be using as a swingman. I'm not going to add a Bailey Dale on top of a Max Holmes. I think the only way you bring him in is if you think he's a keeper, but the only way I see him being a keeper is if he's a D7 swingman. So,
yeah, I completely get that. Completely get that. Yeah, it's an interesting prospect. Absolutely, very interested to see what happens, because if he is top of his line, which he most definitely could be, then happily pay up for it. Happily pay up. Friendly Greedo, gentlemen, looking good. RIP Joshy, absolutely. Currently ranked nicely in Nettings and Bank. I own half the Gold Coast Suns team and want to offload Sharp for Rogers. I'm worried about around 14 buys. It is. Thoughts? Yep, do it. Round 14 is literally ages away, mate. There's going to be so many things that happen before then. There's going to be so many injuries, whether that's injuries to players in your team or what's going to happen. Like, that period of time, premium can go down, get injured, then come back and be at the lower end. So I know buys are important, but I wouldn't be stressing too much about that if you firmly believe that Rogers is going to make you a lot of coin. Ferns, what's your thoughts, mate?
yeah, definitely agree. I think there's a chance that Rogers could even be, traded by then. You come into round 14, use him as an upgrade. So it doesn't really matter if you grab him now. Saying that, how nice would it be owning half the Gold Coast Suns team right now? They're just earning so many super coach points. They remind us of the dogs of old. Like, if you started with like 5 of them in your team, or you've got 5 currently, you're just destroying it. And it's so sad to see as someone that owns none.
Yeah, I mean, I don't own many. Flanders and the rookies, that's about it. So, I mean, not as many as I would currently like, as he said, but they've looked very good. Joshy has thoughts on Lear if he retains his spot even with Taylor in. Well, in my trade plans, I need a defender. Currently, I'm on Hardiman, but Lear could easily be that man, obviously, of course, if Taylor is in. If Taylor plays and Lear plays, then I have no issue on that at all. But that's a big if, because you would expect that if Taylor's fit, Lear just comes straight out. Ferns, your thoughts?
Yeah, and I was in the same spot. Once Taylor's in, you'd think Elias straight out. I mean, if he holds, that's really cool. But oh man, how long does he hold for? Like,
I don't think you'd want him as an on-field option.
Definitely not. No.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think there's just better rookies this week, really. Like, I guess if you're desperate for a defender spot and you need a defender rookie and he holds with Taylor in the team, then I guess. But if not, then I would definitely get one of the other 3 that have been discussed already: Garcia, Rogers, or Sweet.
Wonderful, mate. Wonderful. I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. Steven Suter, concerned about Steele, thoughts? Looked terrible on Newsflash tonight. Yeah, he looked absolutely shot. Like, the last game that he played, I can't remember who it was against, but that's Port, sorry. That strapping on his leg was just... Man's walking out with a mattress on. So I don't know what's going on there. Wouldn't be too alarmed that he trained away from the group with Marshall. I think that's just surely that's got to be workload. Like he's clearly carrying something, but I highly doubt that he won't play. They've played a fair few games in a short space of time, so you would think that this is just a workload situation. They're just easing him up. He'll probably have a bit more of a vigorous session closer to the weekend, and he'll be right to go. But yeah, it doesn't look great. Ferns, what's your professional medical opinion on Steele, mate?
I'm scared. I don't want to make these sideways trades, but he's obviously not looking great. It's another factor that we take into account with these open round games that these other teams ended up with an extra bye round, and how nice would have that been for St. Kilda last week? Absolutely needed it. I guess something that they need to take into account moving forward. But I can't wait for his bye just to give this man a week, or as you said, maybe just like a Thursday or the Sunday game break, just something to let him get back on his feet.
Absolutely. Joshy again, geez, even when he's not on the pod, he's putting in work. This is fantastic. Any concerns that Rogers 98 was against the Eagles? When you consider his 28 in a full game in his debut, screams sub risk for me at some stage. Volatile role, 4% and 0% CBAs. Yeah, they smashed the Eagles in that department. So, no, I'm not. As I said, if he pops again, I'll just pick him up next week. I'm more than happy to wait. If you score 28 in a full game, then like that's scary. That's very scary. So no, happy to wait. Ferns, are you concerned?
Well, look, I'm not picking him up myself, but if I was bringing him in, he would definitely be sitting on my bench with the emergency, using him as a loop.
Yeah, I wouldn't feel comfortable on field. Friendly Greedo, again, mate, you sensational superstar. The only reason you wouldn't move on Powell is if you've got other fires to put out. From a non-owner, though, Clarko and Bevo drinking the same wine. Yeah, I mean, well, Clarko's the messiah. He's more accomplished than Bevo, but at this stage, they can both fuck off if I'm concerned about it. Verns, your thoughts?
Yeah, they're both absolutely cooked. I mean, I don't know if it's wine, but they're definitely getting wrecked.
Yeah, it could honestly be anything. It could be on the Magic Mushies together. Who knows what they do in their spare time. It's tricky with moving on Powell into another line because then he's replaced by a questionable rookie. See, that, as I said, that's team dependent. So if you're moving him on and you've just got some DPP, like I've got Harley Reid in the middle at the moment. If Powell goes out, Reid goes to the forward line. Reid's now sitting in F5, and I can loop F6, which I'm a big fan of, and I get a premium midfielder in. So it's so team dependent, and it also depends on like how you see it. Like, surely Will Phillips gets dropped. If Will Phillips is named, then I think you've got to move him on. So yeah, that's just my opinion. Your thoughts, Verns?
Yeah, I mean, we covered it sort of before. It's a scary hold, honestly, if you are holding. And I don't know if there's going to be that much dividends if you do. So I'd be happy to move on him, honestly.
Wonderful, mate. We have Jake Bassar. Power to Sarong, no questions asked. Do that in a heartbeat. Wouldn't even think twice about that. That's not even a question. Don't know why I showed that, honestly. Joshy, I'm holding Power. Shouldn't lose too much cash. I can upgrade around him for now. Keeps guys like Garcia, Wilson, etc. off field. Yeah, I mean, in saying that, Garcia didn't score much less than Power, and Wilson literally almost doubled Power's score. So it depends how you want to read into that. It's just, yeah, team dependent. I know you're big on holding him. That's understandable. But, yeah, I'm not adverse to trading him out. Ferns, your thoughts? Again, on Tom Powell, seems to be the flag of the week.
No, I do agree. Like there is merit to holding him. And as you mentioned, it depends on how deep that forward line is. Some people don't have three premiums down there. I know myself, I only have Heaney down there. But you've got at least Harley Reid. Sean Darcy has been pretty reliable on field. So you have a few that aren't too bad to sort of cover. But honestly, if I'm not moving him, I do have to boost to get to green, or I can just move Tom Powell and get to green and save a boost. And that just sounds a lot more beneficial than holding Powell.
Wonderful, mate. Wonderful. Sammy Taylor. Well, it'll be interesting. Are you playing this week, mate? Are you coming back in, or what's the go? Hey, lads, thoughts on my trades this week. Can't believe we've actually got an AFL listed football watching us, mate. This is fantastic. Thoughts on my trades this week? Sherry, Sharp, Power out for Sweet, Dawson and Heaney. I know it's the worst week to get Heaney in, but sick of not having him. Yeah, I completely agree. Last week I finally got Heaney in and I could actually watch a Sydney game and not hate my life whilst doing so. I know it's not the best week to bring him in. I mean, if you can work something out where you bring, say, even a Tom Green in, bank 80K and then somehow get to Heaney next week, hoping for a price drop, I would probably do that. But it all depends on who you have, mate. But that's fairly solid in my eyes. Verns, your thoughts?
Look, honestly, I don't really like the idea of throwing Cherry out right now. He's going into Marshall, who we just saw give up 136 points to Sweet. There's a good chance he comes in for a big week this week. And it just sounds like you're sort of sidewaysing a premium. You're sort of moving Cherry the Dawson through DPP. And I'm not really a fan of that. Like, I'd much rather if you saved a boost, you brought Sweet into R3, and then, Sharp down, Pal up to Heaney, and do something like that if you can. And then if you really want Sweet's R3, if Sweet pops off with a 130, 120, whatever he gets, switch him. Great, get Cherry out for Dawson if you really want that. And if he comes out with a 60, keep Cherry, because Cherry's been really good, honestly. Like, if you started with Cherry, you're probably rolling at this point. So
Yeah,
I would love to probably hold
I
on
know
to him.
hindsight is a fantastic thing, but he genuinely has been a fantastic starting pick, hasn't he, mate?
Yeah, I would have loved him over many of mine.
Oh, even Marshall, mate. Could have traded Grundy to Sherry. BR42. Do we think there's any chance Pickett goes to Sarong this weekend, or do you think this was a one-off tag? I mean, he genuinely could. He could go to Brayshaw as well. He went to Tracker. Oh, no one can touch Fife, mate. Fife's averaging 140 for the rest of the season, and if you didn't start with Fife, well, the elite team. But he went to Petrarca, I'm fairly sure, and he did a fairly good job on him. But it's an interesting role because you wouldn't think that Pickett is a genuine tagger, but he really nullified track. So, yeah, really, really decent there. I think he will go to a midfielder. I don't know which one. The most damaging in my eyes is Sarong, so that leads me to think that it's going to be Sarong. But yeah, I'm not sure on that. Verns, what's your thoughts, mate? Is Pickett going to tag Sarong?
Oh, it's definitely a hard one to say. I mean, look, we usually lick our lips in these Richmond matchups, but because of last week, now we're all a little bit questionable. And I've really got a Sarong versus Green matchup as to which one I wanted to bring in. And I personally wouldn't know which one I would go for. But we did sort of see with the, I know Gold Coast, it wasn't, it was Sydney that tagged Anderson, but it's not usually the bull that goes inside and gets the hard ball that gets tagged, because you can't really stop that to a degree. It's a lot easier to tag sort of these outside guys that want the easy possession and the spread and the good disposal efficiency. So I think it's a little bit less likely for Sarong to get tagged. Saying that, obviously Petrarca last week got tagged. Who do we say Petrarca is probably more like? I'd probably say Oliver's probably closer to Sarong, and Track's probably closer to a Brayshaw Hayden Young sort of build. I reckon it's probably not going to be Sarong, but if it is, I wouldn't put it past it, I guess.
Yeah, I just don't think there's any decent ball users in that midfield. Like, Fife doesn't use his feet. He only uses them to run. He doesn't kick the thing. Brayshaw's lucky if he hits a target, if he fell out of, a moving boat to hit water. And it just seems like if you can nullify Sarong for me, then that's a fairly decent start to winning the game.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Yeah, they are just a bit harder to stop, sort of thing.
Oh, absolutely they are. Absolutely they are. But I think I'd be more worried if Sarong had the ball in his hands than if Brayshaw or Fife did.
Brayshaw had it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you said it yourself, mate. Jack, hey boys, trades this week in Dawson, Sweet out, Bonaparte, have enough cash for next week to do Roberts to Strong. That is a lock for me. Absolutely. Verns, agree?
Yep, agree.
Wonderful. Jake Basser, is Dale worth it? We spoke about Dale. To summarise what we said, my opinion is if you're happy to ride the cash upwards, I don't think he's going to be top 6. I don't think it's sustainable. But if you think he's going to make enough cash to sideways to a top 6 player, then absolutely go for it. Ferns, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agreed with you in all those fronts. The only time he really becomes a keeper is if you're keeping him for a D7 sort of swing man later on. But there's a good chance you probably already have one of those.
Perfect. Big baller brand. Verns, I'm going to let you answer this question because you're already an owner. Is Dawson going to be top 8 from here on out? Adelaide midfield is weird this year. Emergence of Soligo has pushed out Dawson and Laird into different roles. I think I might be fading.
Well, look, with Dawson, he's actually had insanely high CBAs. Like, he still had like the most CBAs nearly every single week. He'd been getting the pill enough to be scoring 120, 130 every single week. He just hasn't been able to use it. So even with Soligo coming in, I don't think that was the factor that was keeping Dawson down. It was his poor ball use. And he just sort of, I personally felt like he just needed one game to sort of get it together, which he did the other week. And then he's done it again this week where he spent most of the fourth quarter on the bench because the game was already cooked. He could have easily been pushing a 140 with Laird. So I do think he'll be top 8. I do think he's really, really good. And yeah, Soligo's been real sneaky. And if you had him in a draft, like this guy, you'd be feeling pretty good.
We all know drafts are relevant. But yeah, looking at the CBAs, I mean, Soligo the last 3 weeks has had 67, 72, 63 CBAs. That's a lot more than Rory Laird. And quick maths, it's more than Matt Crouch. It's more than Jordan Dawson. So he's absolutely bang on there. But
I do think that Soligo's more of an impact on Laird, who's been getting his CBAs cut, than Dawson, who he did have 2 weeks where they were a bit down, but I do think he's for the majority of them, they've been up, and he's been really good with it too. I think the other thing with Dawson that people forget is he's still quite young. You know, he's going to be important for this team. I'm pretty sure he's 26, 27, where Laird's obviously hitting 30. So it makes a lot more sense to sort of move him out, get the kids in, and you're going to keep Dawson for the next 2-3 years as your key midfielder.
I mean, if Laird's going to hit 140 plus each week, going at 57 CBAs, and sign me up, because I'm working for that. Supercoach Pro says LDU for his price is all right. I think that was in reference to an earlier question for players.
Yeah, anyone less than Dawson's price. Yep.
Yeah, looking at his scores, like he's averaging just a tick over 97. This is a prime example of why you don't buy mid-price players, because there's one score there, and that was opening round, which was a 121, which actually looks decent. I mean, the 112 he just scored on the weekend is okay, but I mean, 2 tons out of 5, a score of 67 in round 3. That's just That is a prime example of why you find 100K or do not upgrade this week, and instead of looking at that 500K price point, you drop another 100K on it, and you get a top 6, top 8. Use DPP, do whatever you can to get someone that you are certain of that you are going to be happy with for the rest of the year. But I mean, for a suggestion, absolutely. But yeah, my advice would be, if that's the range that you're shopping in, and you're shopping in that discounted, wholesalers situation, you just wait a week, don't eat, and then go somewhere for the decent, steak next week, so to speak. What's your thoughts on LDU, Verns? You got him in some weird draft league you're running?
No, I actually don't have LDU in any leagues. But look, with LDU, our Supercoach Hub team does have him, which is unfortunate, the consensus team. But I do think this is a good point of when you pointed that back in your BBL pod, you're getting sucked in by the name. We see these names and we go, yep, that's the player. LDU 500K, that's a steal. No, it's not. This man has been god awful this year. Like, you don't just look at the name. If you drip down the name and you look at what he's actually done this year, it's not good enough to be picked, honestly.
No, it's not.
And yeah, I think I agree. Save that extra 100K. I mean, it's 60K up to Tom Green, 100K to Sarong. Like, you're going to feel a lot better with those guys in your team for the run home than you are for holding an LDU averaging this 100, 105 sort of range.
Absolutely. Joshy, keep an eye on Ethan Phillips. Last 2 weeks has had 19 disposals, 17 marks, and 16 disposals and 10 marks. Surely Mitchell plays him soon. It's not like they're dominating at 24. Surely time. See, I agree. I reckon he's going to be a really nice downgrade option coming up soon. And if there's anyone that knows what's going on in lower leagues, it's our man Joshy. That's why you tune into this podcast, for just those pivotal insights, not just AFL related things. But in my eyes, Sam Mitchell is not a good coach. I just don't rate him at all. So he could literally spend the entire season in the twos. He really could. Burns, do you have anything to add on Ethan Phillips, mate?
It'd be really nice if he could come in once Pink maybe gets back into the team, has a little bit more of a price rise. I can get some more money out of him. But
Is that because
yeah,
someone may own Pink?
definitely is.
Yep. Interesting. Oh, someone's backing you up here, Verns. I like to see this. Geez, you get a lot of love in the chat, mate. A lot of people like you. Steve May is actually not bad. If you look at his scores this year, in the last few, he wouldn't be the worst D6 or D7 back end of the year. That's kickouts, intercepts, etc. Verns, go for it. Talk yourself up, mate.
Look, I mean, I pointed this out like 2 weeks ago on our podcast, so we sort of brought up, is there anyone you're eyeing off at a discount price? And I was like, look, Stephen Mayne's actually a shout. He had that, I think, injury-affected game where he had like a 12 in his system. But outside of that, he put out like a 115, like a 100, 95. Like he put out some really good scores where maybe he can average between that 95 to 100, and he was going to get down to that 400K price tag. So 100K underpriced and would be very nice. Personally didn't work out for me getting him last week, but he did get a 115 this week. So yeah, I do agree. He's 430K, I think, at the moment. So still very cheap around that Dale price. I mean, look, if you're shopping at that price, you're probably gonna just grab Dale. But I do agree. He's not the worst shout, especially a few weeks back.
Yep, I mean, that's what you get here, ladies and gentlemen. If you're in the chat or you're listening on the audio, you get insights weeks before things happen. Some say Verns is a fortune teller and can see the future. Supercoach Pro, again, legend, mate. Dale easily makes almost that 100K mark, even if he gets 90 versus Hawks and Tigers. He's in form, though. Could be decent points on field plus 100K profit. So this is what I said before. If you genuinely think that he's going to make 100K right now, you go for it. Because even if he starts to shit the bed, you just sideways. Absolutely sideways. Like, surely no one has, less than 20 trades or whatever is the lowest it could be. Unless you're in that position, don't do it. I'm not all aboard yet. Absolutely not. And this week, I think if you're going to go, you go this week. But for my trade plans, I'm not buying into it. Verns, your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I was really interested in Dale last week, and if Stewart didn't get concussed, that's actually where I would have gone. So I almost feel like it's a bit of a week late. He did get 35K last week, and look, if he gets 90 or so, he'll get like 65. I saw you put this up on your Twitter where if he goes like 95, he'll end up making us like, I think it's like 75-ish K over that time, and then sort of just stagnates out. So yeah, it's going to be a quick price grab, and if you want to side with him later, I guess great. I think I have bigger fires to put out myself, but I can see people in a much better position than me putting him down at D6, getting a rookie off field, and it's only costing them one trade while they're able to use a boost to upgrade elsewhere.
Wonderful, mate. Wonderful. Joshy says, yeah, I'm on Hardman. Gets Graham on field over guys like Wilson, Garcia, instead of him being stuck at D7. Exactly why I'm getting Hardman. And if he's not named, I'll just get Aliir, hopefully, if he's named, with the bloke we had in the chat before, Sammy Taylor. It was fantastic to have a GWS player in here. Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. We do have Oscar. Oh, Jesus Christ, I'm going to butcher this. Oscar Verlambia. I love that last name. That sounds like a fancy drink you're having about 3 a.m. in some shady bar. Big fan. Thank you very much, mate. Good to see you here. Thoughts on Sharp, Power, Dempsey for Sweet, Dawson, Dale with 130K left? I can get Bont instead of Dawson, but I believe Dawson's price is just amazing. Oh, yeah. I mean, if you're a numbers man like me, you're staying with what you've done. But then again, like, Bont kicks a ball out in the full and he goes up +7. Like, it's ridiculous. So, which defender do you not have? Like, DM me on Twitter, at Scobie_SC Hub. Send me a team. We'll go through it together because I don't understand why you're going for a Dale and Dawson with 130k left. Like, Dawson's 558k. You can literally get any midfielder in the game. Dale as well, he's not at nothing, so you could probably get something decent. Without looking at your team, I can't tell you, mate. I cannot tell you. But send it through to me on Twitter, and we'll talk about that one for sure. Ferns, your thoughts?
Yeah, I was definitely eyeing that off too when you mentioned that. The 130k, I wasn't even worrying about Dawson. Sweet, Dawson, no problem. I'm very happy with that. But then I instantly went to look at Dale and be like, what can you do with the 130k on top of Dale?
Exactly.
That's what I was more interested in.
Yeah, I don't think you want to be
Nick
skimping
Martin,
out on someone. Nick Martin's going to be top 6. Said this in the preseason. I didn't start him, brought him in. He's 100% going to be top 6. I'll be shocked if he's not.
Yeah, and you've also got, Stewart's at a super cheap price. Honestly, outside of what Ryan, Sheasel, Yo, Houston, Dacos, you can afford any other defender you want. So,
yep.
Yep.
Literally, Oscar, I'm not going to try and go your last name again. DM one of us on Twitter, even Joshy. You know where to find us. Just send us a message. Happy to help out, and we can actually, see it and have a look. Alrighty. Robbo, great to see you here, mate. Wonderful to have you. How many trades does everyone have left? Jesus, that's a good question. If I boost, well, I've got 25 currently, so it's going to go down. Whether that goes down by 2 or 3, I don't know yet. So I'm either going to be left with 23 or 22. Ferns, how many you got left, mate?
Yeah, I've got 24. I've used one basically every week. One boots left as well, and then matter if I use 2 or 3 this week, and that might come down to how Sweet performs.
Yep, wonderful. Gee, and another question for you, Verns. I'm just going to shut up and let you answer this, mate.
Well, maybe D1. No, he definitely won't be. But I said if you wanted to make an easy 100k, you could do it that way. But obviously, Dale's coming to fruition now, and you can probably just do that instead. Make the money a lot faster as well.
Perfect, mate. Perfect. Braden Dunstan, great to see you here, mate. Thank you for joining in. Thoughts on Jackson, Power, Dempsey to Flanders, Sweet, and Dale? See, this is something that I don't like because the forward line is that atrocious at the moment. Jackson scoring what he's scoring with his start. If you started him at the start of the year, he's going to be top 6. At worst, if these key forwards keep producing, like I'm talking Mackay, Jesse Hogan, Charlie Curnow, if they keep, well, the umpires love Curnow, so he's guaranteed to continue. But Jackson at worst is going to be top 8. At worst is going to be top 6. At absolute worst is going to be top 8. I don't understand why. If you can work it out with, say, even if you get another rookie in instead of Dale, don't trade Jackson. I'd be happy with that because Sweet is just going to make so much money. Ferns, your thoughts?
Look, I do agree with you when you mentioned the forward line dilemma here. You're moving out 3 forwards for only 1 forward, so that does kind of probably force these more speculative rookies on field, which isn't a good feeling. Look, I'm not a Jackson owner, so you probably know better than me, but me personally, yeah, I just don't see him being top 6. His last few performances have not been good. Even before Darcy came back into the team, he had a bad game. And it's like, sure, if he upticks towards this 95 plus, yeah, top 6, no problem. The problem is his last 3 games have been atrocious and he doesn't look anywhere near it. So I'm fine to be moving Jackson on. I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, interesting. Because he's still, even though as shit as he's been, he's still averaging 102.6.
But it's not really about the 102.6. It's about what's he going to have for average going forward. And his last few weeks, if they're anything to dictate, it's going to be sub 90 at this rate.
If you traded Jackson in and you've been copying these scores, absolutely. Like, I can completely understand why you want to trade him out. But do you really want to waste 2 trades on this one bloke that you potentially could want to get back in and waste 3 trades? if you started him, then by all means. Like I can see the merit in that, but it's just I'm not. I'm keeping Jackson. Like I'm happy to keep him.
Yeah, I guess the other thing too is if you are bringing Sweet in, where's Sweet going? Because if he's going to your R2, I would feel a lot more comfortable if you kept Jackson with Sweet R2, so you can always flip him back to R3, Jackson up to R2 if you need. That would make me feel pretty comfortable in that sense. Yeah, but if not, I'm not against you trading him. So
Perfect. That's us done for questions. We're going to show Sammy Taylor because, it's not every night you have, arguably the best defender in the competition during your live stream. So, Sammy Taylor, thank you so much for being here, mate. If you could just give Tommy Green a pep talk, I'd love a 180 this week. If you could just drop that to him so he can drop it on Sydney. That's perfect, mate. Perfect. Ferns, who's your VC and C this week, mate?
yeah, so mine are actually going to be Dawson as the VC. Look, he always shows up for these showground sort of games. He's in form. It feels like he's been in form the last sort of 2 weeks. It feels like he's coming back. And it does feel like Port Adelaide maybe, I mean, obviously I didn't know Rosie was going to be back until now. But I was thinking they're having a bit of a depleted midfield and he might just eat them up. But I would be pretty happy with him as a VC. And then I actually also want to go Green C into Sydney. I was pretty interested in that. So I also agree. Drop a 180. First debut in the team. He can take the C, get a 180, and feel very happy.
Absolutely. My VC is out of, and I don't know. It's either going to Sammy Walsh is going to have 40 and literally drop a 150 on the Pies. The only issue is Dacos going to match that? It's my VC is out of Dacos and Walsh, and they'll be going into Gawn. That's it. I think that's fairly straightforward for me. Last question for this evening, Verns. Thank you so much for being on here with me tonight, mate. What are your trades?
Yeah, my trades. At this time, it is Williams out, unfortunately, and Powell. I did want to be going Cadman and Powell for Green and Sweet, but I do fall 15K short with that, so I do have to go Williams instead. So a little upset there, but is what it is.
Yeah, that's annoying. Annoying that you're so close, mate. This week, as I said, I don't know if I'm boosting or not. If I am boosting, it's going to be. I think I am going to get rid of Powell, Darcy, and Lazaro out for Hardiman, Sweet, Green, and that leaves 100K in the bank. And that just, Matt Roberts goes to anyone next week. But that's it for this evening. Thank you so much to everyone that's either been in the live chat, conversing, having a fantastic time, or listening on the audio. You know where to find us now. If you're not following us on literally every social media platform by now, and you're a constant viewer / listener, just do it. Just subscribe. Find us on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, everywhere, Facebook, Twitter. You know what to do. Find us on TikTok. Literally just search Supercoach_Hub and you'll find us, no doubt. Also, check out the boys from Honeyball as well. They have fantastic write-ups, fantasy as well, quotes, presses, you literally live injury updates, everything. Check them out, give them a follow, and see the great work they're doing. Ferns, I know you're going to shout out the consensus team, but firstly, where can the listeners find you?
Yeah, so you can find me at Verns_SC Hub on Twitter or at Verns Supercoach on YouTube. As you mentioned, I will shout out the consensus team, which did go a bit backwards this week as well. That one is ranked about 41,000, but it is just a bit of fun. Jump on into it. We have a chat for it. Just usually put out votes for trades each week, captains, emergencies, all the fun things. Right now, it does look like Sweet is going to be the probably pretty obvious in, but it does look like a bit of debate over maybe Rogers or Garcia. So I'll put out some votes for that soon, and we'll see which one gets up.
And anyone that wants to have their say can find out through the Discord, jump in there, converse, see what's going on. Great discussions, great chats. That's it for us tonight. You can find me on X at Scobie_SC Hub. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for everyone that joined in the live stream, and hopefully your Supercoach team absolutely smashes it. Thank you very much, and see us back next Tuesday. Hopefully with Joshy. Hopefully he's got over his little flu and he's feeling much better. But have a wonderful evening, and again, we'll see you next Tuesday. Thank you very much.